and I have not played this for a while, so we'll see how it goes. So he has a compass telling you exactly where to go. What I loved is like this first section had this flat section of pavement before it blew up with all the tankers. And notice I made kind of a land bridge going over to direct you. I didn't know it at the time, but that was one of our lessons we had in class about ascension and descension. So if you feel like you're going up a hill, you feel like you're going somewhere. So I wanted to extra let the player know that you should be going up that section. So you notice as you're going forward, I want you to notice this stuff too, is as you go forward, pieces of the side start sloughing off. So those are just basically trigger events. They're trigger boxes, just like we do in Unreal, to help kick those off. So that I knew the player would be going forward. I knew they would be pointed towards this little section, and so little pieces slough off to give you that extra interaction. You know, so I pull up a little bit further, go through another trigger volume, and more of the pieces slough off. So that's not necessary for the gameplay, but it really adds to the feeling of it. So I know the player, when they get to the peak of this little hill, I know they're going to be pointing at that building. So this is one of those moments where I didn't have to take the camera away. I didn't have to take control because I knew what the player would be looking at. And I could blow the whole thing up, right? So some of those little tricks so you don't have to take the camera away from the player or take the control away from them. So as I go there, I hit another trigger. That piece sloughs off and shows me a ramp to get through that building. And then, of course, we use those little arrows that are pretty in-your-face techniques, or tell the player that that's where you need to go. You need to go into this broken building full of fire and flame. And like I said, I've been watching a lot of... I've been playing a lot of Infamous while we were making this. And so that kind of influenced all the flame and the fire that's all around you to give this sense of urgency. Though you notice these crates over here kind of entice you over to this section. They kind of teach you how to punch. So if you wanted to get some of these pickups. So there are pickups all through the world. Oh, crap. I did not mean to fall in. But if you notice, there's only one way to go now. I made sure that you could come over here and see where you needed to go. And notice that there's only one way to get there. Over every piece of fire in the entire game, I put a collision volume. So that if you run into the fire, it kicks back. And you lose some of your health. You never really die in this game. But it shows you that you can get hurt if you go next to it. So I thought this spot was cool too. Same kind of thing. I kept creating these sloughs. That ceiling piece, I hit a trigger volume right here. I knew you'd be pointed at it. It fell down, put out some of the fire, and created a ramp. So this is the first thing that you actually learn in the game. This is the first moment you have to actually do something in the game. Here I'm teaching the player how to do a ledge grab. You see those yellow highlights. That shows you where you need to ledge grab. And I made it so you could just do a single jump off of that ramp. But in case you miss it, you can just hop right up too. And then we put that... Oh, actually, I forgot you could double jump. So this actually teaches you how to double jump too. So off this ramp, you can actually double jump and hit the top one. But in case you missed that, you would fall down to the bottom one and be able to fall back up. So in this one, this section right here is where I forced the player to punch. And we wanted to force the player to learn how to attack on something that didn't fight back. So you didn't have to worry. So there's this big wall of flames. There's really no way to go forward unless you punch this water tower. And of course we have a blue capsule in case you don't do it fast enough that will show the player how to do it. But one of the things I noticed when I was in playtesting is that kids wouldn't know how to punch it. So I actually marked that so the player, as long as you're close enough, will turn around and punch it. And we totally didn't have the camera on it, but that water wheel fell down, put all the fire, and showed you exactly where you need to go. So I made these crates too. I got to make a lot of the art for this as well, which I really liked. And I was really proud of these crates. Because I went up into a meeting and I was learning how to make destructibles. I put all of the wood slats in the crate. I remember going up to 𝐓𝐫𝐞𝐢 for the head of the company to play it, and I accidentally put in like 3 or 4 times as many slats as were supposed to be in it. And so they just blew up with way more wood than you'd imagine would be in this thing. And that stuff kind of stayed. There's still like a ton of wood that pops out of these, which I think is super satisfying. Okay, so here's the next section I thought was kind of cool. Same type of thing with Infamous, where the main character is running along, an explosion will happen and keep kicking him back and change the whole terrain or the way you're supposed to go. So you're running by those tankers, and then as you get close, the whole thing blows up and kicks you back and creates this big crater. So I was trying to create as many moments of suspense and change as I could, so then that changes your compass and tells you to come up here. And I blocked the doorway with the stairwell with crates to make sure you know how to punch. before you get up there. And then you're introduced to these poles, which all you have to do is jump into them. There's actually a collision volume that's shaped like a cylinder, where as long as you're within that space and you hit A, you will automatically climb up those poles and then jump off, which I think is a pretty awesome way for like a younger audience game to hop up and down. Took a lot of iteration. This one I was proud of too. I'd been playing a lot of Uncharted at the time, and I wanted to create, you know, Uncharted where you're climbing that train and you have things happen in front of you. This is an example of this. This was a lot harder originally to jump onto, where this is about a 1 jump distance. And during playtesting, kids kept falling in between it. So I kept having to move this crate closer and closer and closer to basically keep kids from falling off of it. Then you go through here, as you get closer, that Omnibot shoots this down and falls. Originally, it was just sitting there stationary, and you jump for it. And even if you missed, you'd hit one of these sides and fall down. And then even if you fell down on the bottom, you could hop back up. So all of that whole section, up until this point, teaches you how to jump, how to ledge hang, and how to punch. So hopefully you've thrown quite a few punches, so that by the time you get down here to these enemies, you already know how to attack them a little bit. Did not mean to pick up the policeman. Where is even my punch button? I'm like missing it. Oh, there we go. But then you start learning all the different punches and everything he can do. If you hold down A, he does an uppercut. If you hold it down longer, he kind of slams down on him. So that's 3 of 4. And then I have all the little cops speeding him up too. And that's one of the things we added is lots of destructibles, lots of things for the player to go around and punch. This is one of the parts I was proud of. We're trying to figure out how to keep the player locked in here until they did something certain. So I just put a gate with a big padlock on it, because that immediately reads that that's the only way to, like, it's locked. May not make sense for a city to have a big lock and key, but maybe it does. So basically, I can't move on in the game until I've basically bought the 𝗓𝗏𝗘. When we were introducing the player to the 𝗓𝗏𝗘 in the first place, we actually had a lot of design meetings. And I remember going to the design meeting, and then we were trying to decide, how do we unlock the city and reveal the 𝗓𝗏𝗘 that's delivered to you? How do we do that? And I was like, what if we just have one of the policemen drive it to you? And that idea was just shot down, because I was told, no, we have set rules in our game that the townspeople do not drive the hero cars, period, end of story. So I went back to my desk that night. I took the characters from the repository and put them in the 𝗓𝗏𝗘, and I did a simple animation of the little policeman breaking through the gate and then doing a little flip and kind of doing a ta-da. So against the wishes of all the design team, but I made it anyway, and I came back in the next day and showed it to the group, and they were like, holy crap, that's awesome, and it made it into the game. So I always use that as an example, is showing something is worth so much more than just telling somebody an idea. Ideas can get shot down for valid reasons, because they don't make sense, but if you're really passionate about something and you just go make it, that proves that it's good. So we're gonna go to our toys here and buy our 𝗓𝗏𝗘. And there he is, here he comes. But I thought that was kind of cute. It's one of those little things in the game, but I liked it. And then you hop into the car, you go into the city. I would actually love to take this a lot further than this and show off the rest of it. But that's going to probably take another 20 or 30 minutes before we get to it all. I just wanted to show you this space. Because this space here, let's go up to the top of it. So you can see here's the footprint of that entire section that we just went through. It's not really that big, but I found ways to actually make it last longer and have high impact through the whole thing. You actually got to destroy the snot out of it, which was a ton of fun. But then even then, after you've done that, there's even more sections of gameplay all over the place. Like you learn, if you want to, you can learn how to rail slide and get across the stuff really quick. You can see there are more capsules, the places we didn't explore that aren't too far off that maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't. But that's it. So you started right there at that boat, that police boat with Syndrome. He threw you across, smashed you into that shed over there, and that's where the game started. I think what we'll do, this is an online course for anyone watching. I haven't been on Twitch for a long time. But this is for my level design course. So we can talk more about it later, but then you can see the city that adds the enclosure. You can see even around the perimeter, David McClellan was our amazing skybox artist, and so he painted all of the facade that you see going around the entire city to make it fill the whole thing feel enclosed in that space. And then you have the two sections of the city and the Incredibles Island over the side. But that's it. I'm going to leave this here. But really, when we do this final project, it's all about the space. The space is king. You can have punching, you can have, you know, the pole climb, but those aren't necessary. Even just with the jumping that you have standard in Unreal Engine 5, you can do 90% of the things that were shown in this level, and kind of see what kind of experience it's in a block out that you can show. Everybody in class, we'll see you on Thursday. Thanks for accommodating the Twitch session. And yeah, that's it. Reach out to me and McCain if you have any questions.